Ukraine, U.S.-China family members dominate Asian Security Assembly. The battle in Ukraine and China's an increasing number of tense courting with the United States featured in almost every session of the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, which ended on Sunday after 3 days of discussions. Chinese Defense Minister Wei Feng, who gave one of the featured speeches on the meeting's very last day, said it become up to the United States to improve the bilateral dating together with his United States, as ties had been at a crucial juncture. We request the U.S. side to forestall smearing and containing China. Stop interfering in China's internal affairs. The bilateral courting cannot enhance except the U.S. side can do this. Wei, dressed inside the uniform of a widespread in the People's Liberation Army, instructed delegates. The Shangri-La Dialogue is Asia's most effective protection meeting, and this 12 months attracted 575 delegates from 40 international locations such as diplomats, defense officers and guns makers. Austin stated in his speech at the meeting on Saturday that there had been an alarming boom inside the number of hazardous and unprofessional encounters between Chinese planes and vessels with the ones of different international locations. He added that the U.S. could stand with the aid of its allies, inclusive of Taiwan. U.S.-China members of the family generally dominate the yearly assembly in Singapore, held for the first time for the reason that 2019 due to the pandemic. However, this 12 months, Russia's invasion of Ukraine became within the foreground. The highlight became an deal with to the assembly via video link by means of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who warned delegates that the invasion of his state threatened the rules-based order and put the entire world in threat of famine and meals crises. Several delegates puzzled China's relationship with Russia. Wei stated that China supported peace talks and that Beijing had not provided any materiel to Russia. He stated providing weapons and enforcing sanctions would now not help the state of affairs. Meia Nouwens, a senior fellow at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, stated Wei's speech turned into steady with Beijing's authentic line on Russia-Ukraine issues. He did additionally underline that China is a companion of Russia and now not an ally of Russia, and they do not have an alliance, Nouwens said. They're underlining that on the cease of the day, Chinese policy has usually been to pursue China's personal pursuits and now not tie itself to those other nations. Russia changed into not invited to the assembly, which Singapore Defense Minister Ng Eng Hen said became comprehensible, despite the fact that he said, the search for compromise, the look for not unusual floor, facilitates diplomatic efforts. Ukrainian Deputy Overseas Minister Dmytro Senik told on Sunday that more guns have been had to help his United States of America reclaim territory lost to the Russians, and that the authorities changed into running on ways to get grain exports out of the country. We've installed routes which can be assisting us export these agricultural commodities, Senik stated. Those routes aren't perfect, because it creates certain bottlenecks, however we're doing our fine. Unchanged on Taiwan, Russia calls its movements in Ukraine a unique operation, that it says isn't always designed to occupy territory, however to break its southern neighbors' military capabilities, and sees what it regards as risky nationalists. Addressing the problem of Taiwan, Defense Minister Wei stated China's role on the island, which Beijing views as a province, turned into unchanged. He stated the Chinese government sought peaceful reunification with Taiwan but reserved other options. In Taiwan, Premier Su Zhengchang said on Sunday that the island does no longer need to shut the door to China and is willing to engage in the spirit of goodwill, but on an same basis and without political preconditions. South Korean Defense Minister Lee Jong-sup stated on the Singapore Assembly that his country would beautify its defense talents and paintings intently with the USA and Japan to counter North Korea's nuclear and missile risk. The South might additionally assist North Korea if it denuclearized, he stated. Fiji Defense Minister Inia Suraratu stated that for all the focal point on military subjects at Shangri-La Dialogue, extra urgent threats have been being left out. In our blue Pacific continent, machine guns, fighter jets, gray ships and inexperienced battalions aren't our number one security challenge, Suraratu stated. The unmarried finest hazard to our very lifestyles is climate alternate. It threatens our very hopes and desires of prosperity.